Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Chelsea Moore with Divine Speech and Language Services, and today, because of this COVID-19 crisis, I want to talk about 4 different types of learning. Now, researchers have uncovered at least 10 different learning styles, but the 4 that I want to highlight today have to do with visual learning, auditory learning, reading and writing learning, as well as kinesthetic learning. So just dive right into it, okay? When you think about visual learners, think about when we first went to preschool. And we learn days of the week, months of the year, colors, numbers, seasons, all of those different things. Typically, those words were paired with a picture of sort. So when we talked about the season of fall, there was a leaf. When we talked about summer, there was a beach and an umbrella. When we talked about winter, we saw cold and snow. All those different, we talked about spring, we saw flowers growing. So we use visual pictures to help us make sense of concepts. The reason I want to talk about this is because right now we have a lot of kids going to school daily on a tele-learning platform. And this is extremely difficult for parents, particularly parents that have to work from home or have to multitask, because now you are responsible for not only making sure that your child is consistent with their learning, but making sure that they are able to connect the dots when they do. Does that make sense? Also, think about auditory learning. With auditory learning, those are the people, again, that tend to hear information and connect the dots that way. It's a little different from visual learning, but they tend to enjoy having conversational interchange, raising their hand, asking questions, working in groups, creating a dialogue that will allow them to work. They use strategies for reading out loud. They like the auditory or the audio books. They like to have conversational interchange, again, to connect the dots. And then you have the reading and writing learning. Those are the learners kind of like how I was in the 70s and 80s. I was born in the 70s, went to school in the 70s and 80s, graduated in the 90s. But basically, from an educational standpoint, everyone was required to take notes, read, write, and learn. That's just how we did it. There was not a lot of research about how people learn. And during that time, you used reading and writing, and you answered questions, and we underlined words. We put a hyphen by that word. We wrote the definition. We actually had dictionary skills where we looked up words. We knew what the terms were in terms of the words that were at the heading of the page, and we knew what to do and what was required of us. And then the last type of learning is kinesthetic learning. These people learn by doing. A high percentage, and I've forgotten the percentage, and please forgive me for this, but a high percentage of people that are kinesthetic learners are also ADHD. Now, ADHD is very tricky because people with ADHD oftentimes are blessed with an amazing ability that when they learn something and they do it once, they might ask a question or two and they'll do it again and get it right. And the more they do it, the better they get it, and then get to the point where they can just do it without even thinking about it. And then there's sometimes people that are kind of they encompass all of these different styles of learning, the visual, the auditory, the reading and writing, and the tactile piece all kind of play together to help us learn. The reason this is important now is because now parents are going to become more and more aware of how their children learn. And you're going to also become more aware of your part in how they learn. Now there's a teacher talking to your child through a computer, and you have to set it up so that that child has all modalities of learning, so that they are able to listen, they're able to visualize, they have something that they can read and write down. You can have a healthy dialogue with them about what was being said in order to help them process information, and then have a kinesthetic activity where they can put what they just learned about in motion. I hope this makes sense for you. The reason I'm doing this video is because I had a conversation just yesterday about a little boy with a mother who told me that she was a slow learner. She said she was a visual learner. And I corrected her and I said, no, you can't say that you're slow. I said, and I won't agree with that. And I'm not coming to the table to sit down with you and say that you're a slow learner. I said, what I will say is that you are actually a very intelligent learner, for one, because you know that you learn visually. And for two, people often that learn visually will often have photographic memories. Not all the time, but a high percentage of them do have photographic memories. And they can remember what a picture looked like, what was at the corner of the picture, the bottom left, the bottom right. They know exactly what was in the center because they make those connections by looking and processing information appropriately. So she also told me in a later sentence on down the line that she had a learning disability. I said, well, that doesn't mean that you can't learn. It just means that you learn differently. And when you think about these 4 different types of learning styles that we talked about, Each person that exhibits one of these is actually better in one area than they might be in another, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn. You just learn differently. So I hope this video helped you in a way that will allow your homeschooled pupil to do a really good job, and also to help you as a parent to woosah, so that you are able to help your baby be successful. For more information regarding our services, please visit us online at divinespeech.com. Thank you so much for joining me today.